Hello students! My read aloud is going to be Old Wolf. You'll notice the author is a familiar name, Avi. We've talked about Avi and some of the other books that were written by this author, Poppy and Rye and that series. So this book is called Old Wolf. Here's what it's about. In the computer game world of Bowhunter, Casey's world, there are no deaths, just kills. In the wolf world, Neshoba's world, there have been no kills. For this is March, the starving time in the Iron Mountain region of Colorado, when wolves and ravens alike are desperate for food. With the help of one raven, the miraculous Merla, Neshoba must lead his pack of 8 to a next meal. The wolf hates being dependent on a mere bird, but this bird is wise beyond her years. Like Neshoba, she is old. How a young teen crosses paths with them, for good and ill, comprises one of Avi's most suspenseful dramatic tales, memorable for the pictures it paints in the mind as well as inspires in the art of longtime collaborator, artist Brian Floca. All right, here we go. Chapter 1. There's a picture there. It was the starving time. Not the end of winter, not the start of spring. Not cold, not hot. Daylight and night dark were almost equal. Mud lay here and snow lay there. It was as if Earth herself could not decide between life and death. Chapter 2. In the high country, on a late afternoon in the month of March, the 8 gray wolves of the Iron Mountain pack, Tanogan, Garby, Nikito, Pildown, Debalt, the 2 pups, Kanal and Onai, and the pack leader, the old wolf called Neshoba, lay before their den, a cold, shallow hollow in an outcropping of dull red rock. Neshoba was allowing his 2 5-week-old blue-eyed pups to tumble about him, yapping and squealing. Nonetheless, he was worried. The wolves in the pack had not eaten for 2 weeks, not so much as a chipmunk or a vole. They were hungry and increasingly tense. The pups most concerned Neshoba. Originally, the litter had been 3 in number. One had died, needing something more than Tanogan's milk to survive. Kanal and Onai were already mouthing Neshoba's muzzle, their way of begging for meat. Where, he fretted, was he going to get it? While Neshoba lay deep in thought, Garby, 3 years old and the largest, strongest wolf in the pack, suddenly called out, "Neshoba, it's time I was pack leader." Taken by surprise, but choosing to act as if he had not heard the challenge, Neshoba did not move. The other wolves did. The adults got up swiftly and backed away. Even the pups, sensing something amiss, scrambled to their mother, who nosed them behind her for safety. "You are our pack leader, Neshoba," snarled Garby, "but you just sit here playing with your pups. You should be leading us in a hunt." Uncertain what the outcome might be if he fought the much younger wolf, Neshoba remained absolutely still. Garby, taking the old wolf's response to be weakness, leaped to his feet. "We're hungry, Neshoba," he barked. "We need food. If you can't lead us to it, I will." Neshoba spread his toes a little and gazed steadily at Garby with his deep golden eyes. "Are you challenging me?" he asked in a soft, rumbly voice. He knew the answer to the question perfectly well, but was hoping Garby would back down. All Garby did was snarl, "We know the truth, Neshoba. You're too old to lead." The words stung Neshoba. How dare the young wolf speak so? With a deep-chested growl, the old wolf came slowly to his feet and stood with legs stiff, neck hairs raised, and tail high. He wanted to give Garby time to retreat. Garby, however, held his place and continued to stare directly into the pack leader's eyes, which, among wolves, is a blatant challenge. "Admit it, Neshoba," he said. "You've become useless." Neshoba drew back his lips to show his teeth and took a step forward toward the strong young wolf. The other wolves moved farther away. "You don't frighten me, Neshoba," Garby spat out. Knowing he must act quickly or lose all respect, Neshoba lunged at the young wolf's neck. With the deftness of youth, Garby slipped to one side, causing Neshoba to miss. At the same moment, he dove, gripped Neshoba's right front paw in his mouth, and bit down, hard. Neshoba, ignoring the piercing pain, twisted about, reached up, and grasped Garby's neck in his jaws. He began to squeeze tighter and tighter. With a gasp, Garby released Neshoba's paw and dropped to the ground. Panting, Neshoba let go of the young wolf, but stood over him, undecided what to do. Choosing to be generous, as befit a pack leader, he lifted his bloody paw and placed it on the back of Garby's neck. The young wolf whined in pleading submission. That was enough for Neshoba. Pleased with himself, he stepped away but glanced pointedly at the other wolves. One by one, they lowered their heads and tails in wordless acknowledgement of the old wolf's leadership. Neshoba, not wishing to reveal how much pain his paw was giving him, how shaken he was, how rapidly his heart was pounding, turned his back on the pack and walked into the woods, slowly. When he was some 40 yards from the den, beyond the pack's view, the old wolf flopped to the ground, stretched his feet before him, and allowed himself a deep, deep breath. Chapter 3. When Neshoba regained his composure, he examined his paw closely. Garby's bite had been not just painful, but deep, far worse than the old wolf had realized. First, he licked the oozing blood, cleaning and soothing the hurt. Then he rested his chin on the earth between his front legs. Eyes closed, he sought to ignore the ache in his paw and the ache in his heart. How dare young Garby challenge me? In the wild, wolves can live for as long as 9 years, sometimes more. Neshoba was 8. He weighed some 80 pounds, down from 110, and was 35 inches tall at his shoulder and just less than 4 feet long, not including his tail. The gray fur on his back, it had become much grayer as of late, and along the top of his tapered nose was soft and thick, except for the stiff gray muzzle hairs. His chest and belly fur was white, but tinged delicately with brown. His ears were dark and rounded, and his golden eyes, encircled by black markings, had ebony pupils. Neshoba was well aware that he had come close to being overthrown as pack leader. The next time Garby challenged him, as he surely would, the young wolf might be successful. But the life of the Iron Mountain pack depends on me, Neshoba told himself. I am not too old to hunt or kill. But Neshoba knew that now he must prove it, and soon. Chapter 4. Next morning, when the first glow of dawn touched the summit of Iron Mountain, Neshoba stood on a high ridge looking down into the still, shadowy Bend Valley. Over the past 2 weeks, the old wolf had hunted for food in many places, but without success. The animals the wolves fed on, deer, elk, and moose, were more than likely in the lower valley, where they had gone to wait out winter. That area, however, was where humans lived. Though wolves never attacked humans, Neshoba was well aware that humans attacked wolves. Not only were these humans crafty, they were able to kill from great distances. All wolves knew to fear them. Moreover, the last time Neshoba had ventured into the lower valley, 2 weeks ago, he had come upon an old human with white hair. At first, Neshoba had thought that the human had been heading toward the pack's den. He had been just about to race home to give warning when the human had veered away. No, the deep valley was too dangerous for Neshoba. He needed to find another place to hunt. But where? He looked up. Branches of lodgepole pine, spruce, and still leafless aspen crisscrossed over his head like a spider's web. Higher still, the sky was as gray as his fur. To either side of Bend Valley, mountain peaks glistened with melting snow. To the west, the last of the 3/4 moon, pale white and growing fainter, was sinking into the horizon. Neshoba looked left and right. He listened, he sniffed, yet he did not hear, smell, or see anything to tell him where any large animals might be. Undecided, the old wolf was standing perfectly still on a quilt of dirty snow and mud, an area spotted with pools of cold water that lay as mute as dark mirrors, when he heard, caw, caw, caw. It was the call of a raven. Neshoba tilted his ears forward and listened intently. The call repeated itself, caw, caw, caw. As the wolf was aware, ravens had a well-deserved reputation for 2 things, playing tricks and warning of death. Some wolves believed the birds were enchanted. Whatever the truth, Neshoba was also aware that ravens often knew the location of moose, elk, and deer. For their own reasons, ravens were interested in what wolves hunted. Perhaps, thought Neshoba, this raven is sending a message. Unfortunately, the bird's call came from deep in the valley, precisely where the wolf did not want to go. Besides, the thought of depending on anyone, another wolf or some bird, was not to his liking. Neshoba was not sure what to do. As pack leader, he was obliged to defend the pack, to keep all in health, to avoid danger, and to maintain good order. Those duties fulfilled, his dignity as leader would be respected, and every wolf in the pack would know his or her place. But this would not happen unless his pack was fed. Neshoba looked about again. The sky promised change. He sensed dampness and a northern wind. Though late for snow, spring storms were always a possibility in the high country. That prospect added even more urgency to his need. Snow, or rain, would make his hunting that much more difficult. The old wolf lifted his right front paw and studied it. The wound was now covered by dried blood. It still gave pain, but not, he decided, so much. He was sure he could still run, still hunt. Garby's taunt, "You are useless," seeped into his thoughts. Simultaneously, the raven's call, caw, caw, rang out again like the tolling of a bell. Its message, its possible message, that food was to be found, was too tempting. Very well, Neshoba would find the raven and see why it had called. Decision made, the old wolf began to trot down into the valley. And that is where I'm going to leave off for today.